Are we barreling toward World War III? Tucker Carlson says yes, and within the next year, we're going to talk about the day. Hello, everybody. Trailer Trash Tim, good morning, good Friday morning to you. I hope all of you are well. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you being a part of the channel. How's your mom and them, by the way? Before I continue with what we're going to talk about today, I have got to give a shout out to somebody, so please bear with me. I hope you will take note of this website. This is samsbutchershop.com. Now, I have to tell you, I don't have any sponsors. I don't have any deals behind the scenes or anything like that. I am not sponsored. Maybe one day I will be. I don't know. But when I tell you about a product that I am using, I haven't yet, but I am now. And I'm telling you, if you want the finest meat you have ever laid in your jaw, this is where you get it. samsbutchershop.com. Sam is a member of the channel, and Sam just sent me a little sampling of his meat. And I'm going to tell you, it was so good. I just about, as we say in the South, I started squalling. It was so good. I'm not kidding you. I'm serious as a heart attack. This stuff is delicious. As a lot of you know that follow me, I'm a carnivore. All I eat is meat. I eat beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. And some pork. If it had parents, I'll eat it, right? I was absolutely blown away, and you will be too. If you go to this website, nobody's paying me to say this, folks, all right? But regardless, even if they were, obviously I'd be telling you. But I'm telling you free of charge. This is the best meat I have ever had in my 62 years. I kid you not. Go to this website, have a look around, and Sam will fix you up. He's got all kinds of sausages. He uses cherry wood to smoke his meat. He's got pork shoulder. Man, he's just got all kinds of stuff on that website. Go and check it out. You will absolutely be thrilled with your selections. Take it from Trailer Trash Tim. I've never misled you once, and I ain't misleading you now. samsbutchershop.com. Great guy, and he will take care of you. All right. In a recent interview that Tucker Carlson did with Adam Carolla, he said some astonishing things. And I'm a big fan of Tucker Carlson. I think he's a very rational, reasonable man who got railroaded by Fox News that has absolutely gone to pot as far as I'm concerned. But Tucker now has no filter. He can just do his own thing, and he's got his own thing going on X or Twitter. By the way, all the links are down below. You can find me there too if you're interested. But among the things he told Adam Carolla was that he is absolutely convinced that the United States is going to go to war with Russia. And he said within the next year, and he said, I would bet my house on it. Now, that's a little unsettling, because such a scenario would obviously involve nuclear weapons, something we've never seen before, at least not since Japan, but nothing of this potential magnitude. You know, none of us are alive, Americans are alive today. If you're in America, well, none of us are alive, have ever faced anything like this before. Now, there was the threat of nuclear war back in the 60s. That was my first decade on Earth. And I know that Americans a little bit older than me are familiar with the drills you went through in school, that you had to hide under your desk and whatnot, take cover in case of nuclear blast. I never went through anything like that. But that, as the old Soviet Union was still alive and well, that threat was always around. The threat of we always had the Cold War, but the threat of a hot war was present until 1991 when the USSR collapsed. And that was a great day. It liberated not only the Russian people, the suffering Russian people, but it liberated the world to a great degree because it ended that threat. A lot has gone on since that time, some of it not good, but things have kind of turned backwards now. Now you look at the leaders of the United States and you wonder, where are the good guys? I think something that needs to be addressed, and it's a tough nut to crack, it's a tough subject to address to Americans, And I know I have people watching me from around the world, and I appreciate that. And this, if you're, of course, in Western Europe, this would apply to you as well. But historically, I can tell you from firsthand experience in America, there's always been, at least in my lifetime, a real anti-Russian sentiment. And there was a time I would contend when that may have had justification, and that would be back during the days of the Soviet Union, which no more exist. But there is such visceral hatred in America right now, at least in our government, toward Russia. And you have to stop and pause and ask yourself, why is that? Why does our government hate Russia so much? And why do they shove this hatred of Russia down the American people's throats? And why do so many Americans, just like sheep, accept the fact that we're supposed to hate Russia? Well, I think there are three reasons for that, and I want to, in my view, and I want to list them very quickly. Why the American government's basic position is to hate Russia, despise them and everything that they do, even though they're not the old Soviet Union. I can understand that, but Russia today is not the Russia of the last 100 years under Stalin and Lenin and Brezhnev. It's a different nation today. So why does the hatred remain? I think the number one reason is simply because of indoctrination, because we have always been taught from government schools that Russia is evil, that at least the Soviet Union was evil. And I guess you just get this bleed over because most Americans, I would contend, do not understand Russian history. The history of Russia is actually Christian. It is a traditionally a Christian nation and has been since the year about 1000. And Russia was largely a Christian nation. It was ruled by czars, mostly godly czars, until the Bolshevik Revolution of 1917, when the family, the Tsar Nicholas and his family, his wife and his children, were executed. They were martyred, and the Bolsheviks took control, and they just completely corrupted the nation and turned it into the USSR. Eventually, is what it became, the Soviet Socialist Republic. So we have always in America, based on basically a system of capitalism and democracy of some form, we have always been opposed to that. Well, I can understand that, but that no longer exists in Russia. So why does the hatred remain? That's one reason. By the way, a lot of people say, well, Russia is evolving into a dictatorship. Well, what do you think we have in America, folks? What do you think President Biden is, at least fastly becoming? I mean, we are ruled and lorded over by these godforsaken oligarchs for whom power is paramount. You know, one thing that really was the appeal of Donald Trump to a lot of people is the fact that he was just plain spoken, like your next door neighbor. He got in the debates and he just blew everybody out of the water because he wasn't giving political answers. He wasn't talking like a politician. He was talking like a regular guy, and that attracted a lot of people to him. That was refreshing. We'd never heard that before from a politician because he wasn't a traditional politician. I never agreed with Trump on a lot of his policies. He was far too liberal for me. He didn't do much to stem spending. There's Kiki. Hello, Kiki. She doesn't hate Russia. So I had a lot of disagreements with Trump, but you can't argue about his successes. The greatest thing I have argued that Trump did for us was not get us into a shooting war with somebody. That was a relief. That was a breath of fresh air to finally not be at war with some other country with Trump in office. I think a second reason there is hatred in America for Russia is because of this link to its Soviet history. When such an emotion would be justified back during the Soviet times, because communism only does one thing: it expands. It kills and it expands as it goes. And so it was right to oppose that militarily. But there's a third reason that a lot of people in America hate Russia, and it is a religious component, which I am quite familiar with. In America, the largest group of so-called Christian group are American Protestants. And generally speaking, Protestants are raised with a fundamentalist eschatology. That's just a big fancy word that means last things, the future. And most of these people believe that Russia is a great Satan, and they get that from what's called a Scofield Bible. You got the Bible, and then you had a man named C.I. Scofield, who was an evangelical fundamentalist, and he wrote in the Bible his marginal notes, and a lot of people took those notes for gospel. Whatever he said about what was actually written in the Bible, that must be accurate. Well, it isn't accurate. And so I don't want to get too deep theologically here. Not that I could, but or maybe I could, but that has contributed to having a deep-seated hatred of Russia on behalf of American Protestant fundamentalists, and it's unfortunate. We need to rethink this. We need to rethink Russia. We really do, because the Russia of old, or the last 100 years of Soviet Union, Russia is not the Soviet Union any longer. And we need to rethink our policies on them in this country. I was listening to the Red Eye Radio guys overnight a couple of nights ago. I get up really early, as you know, and sometimes I'll listen to the Red Eye Radio broadcast. And these guys, Eric and I can't remember the guy's name. Anyway, they both bill themselves as conservative libertarians. And they're fairly entertaining. Got some pretty good ideas, but they were discussing the war in you-know-where. I need my note cards. I can't really talk about that because of YouTube. And they were saying, these libertarians were saying, well, of course we've got to stop Russia, or they're just going to keep on going. They'll never stop. They're ever expanding. Well, of course that's not true. Ukraine was historically part of Russia, for one thing. Oops, I said it. Hope I don't get flagged. And I was thinking to myself, well, what about the United States militarily? Do we need to be stopped? Are you kidding me? Do we not expand forever? Is our global footprint not all over the globe? Why is it okay for us but wrong for Russia? And I'm not advocating it for anyone. But they just see Russia and Putin as being evil. Now, to their credit, they see bribing the same way. But a lot of Americans just have this warped view of Russia that really needs to be thought about or reconsidered. A couple of years ago, shortly after he took office, many of you will remember that the Nord Stream pipeline was blown up. And the American media immediately blamed Putin for this. But that, of course, never made sense. That's like me going out and cutting my water supply to my own house or my electric supply. That would make no sense whatsoever. This Nord Stream pipeline was supplying energy to Russia and to Western Europe as well. So why on earth would Putin do something like that? He wouldn't. It makes no sense, but that's what the mainstream media in America told us. Do you know who did blow it up? I'll tell you who blew it up, the American president. You know how I know that? If you'll go back in time, you will see where he said, you can find him saying he was going to do it, and he did it. Now, if you ask me, that is an act of war, but Russia restrained itself and did nothing obvious in retaliation, although they could have. That was an act of war. How would we feel if Russia cut off our oil supply? What would we do about that? I mean, folks, let's be fair about this. Let's have some clear thinking about this. Russia is a sovereign nation. The United States is a sovereign nation. Should we not respect each other? Why on earth do we have any business being involved in a conflict that involves Russia and the big U? Could we not just let them settle it and keep our nose out of it? Why do we have a vested interest in that? Could it be that the American president is hiding something there? Is that possible? Why is it that we can send billions of dollars to Kiev and peanuts to Maui? Does that make sense to any American who's listening to me right now? I'm telling you, we are ruled by lunatics. And these lunatics will do anything to keep power. These people will do anything to keep Trump out of office. And I mean anything. I mean anything. They're trying everything in their playbook. If you don't think the justice system in America has been weaponized against Donald Trump, then you are sleeping under a rock. You do not know what's going on. Let me give you the latest example of what is happening around the country. At least 3 state attorneys general have announced that they are reviewing whether or not they are going to allow Trump to be on the ballot in America. I'm running a little long. Please forgive me, but I'm full today. I've got a lot to say. Arizona, New Hampshire, and Florida. Arizona Secretary of State Adrian Fontes, a Democrat, said on Tuesday, this last Tuesday, that his office is figuring out how to handle potential complaints over whether former President Donald Trump should be disqualified from appearing on the 2024 ballot. This is what he said, and I quote, "We have to have a final, bear with me just a minute here. I'll get my quote here in just a minute." He said, "We have to have a final certification of the eligible candidates by December 14th for Arizona's presidential preference election. And because this will ultimately end up in court, we are taking this very seriously." New Hampshire Secretary of State David Scanlon is dealing with the same question. There, a Republican former Trump ally is considering a former Trump ally in New Hampshire is considering bringing a 14th Amendment challenge against him. This is also being considered in the state, the blue state, or is it red? I think it's red. Red is Republican, right? Seems to me red ought to be Democrat. But anyway, Florida's looking at the same thing. Now, folks, I'm telling you, these people will do anything to keep him off the ballots and keep him out of office. He said, Fontes said, secretaries of state get ready. No, the article is entitled "Secretaries of State Get Ready for Possible Challenges to Trump's Ballot Access." That's on NBC.com. Let me ask you a question. What do you think is going to happen in America if these states succeed, these 3 states or more succeed? And I'll guarantee you there'll be more. What do you think is going to happen in America if these states succeed on taking Donald Trump off of the ballot? What do you think? You think it's going to get ugly? Do you think that they may have another tool in their play box if this fails? Maybe war? What will they stoop to keep Trump out of office? I'm telling you, these people are lunatics, and some of them actually want war with Russia. Now, if that is not insanity, I don't know what is. Do you not realize what happens if we actually went to war with Russia? Can you conceive how many millions of lives would be lost? Do you think maybe these people want that? You think maybe they got their bunkers ready already? Maybe they just don't give a damn about the American people, you think, or the Russian people. I would encourage you, if you have this hatred toward Russia, to reconsider that. Maybe the days of justifiable hatred are behind us. Maybe it isn't Russia we need to be hating. Maybe we need to look somewhere else. Sobering words from Tucker Carlson. And let me tell you, Tucker's a rational guy. And so when he said that, I perked up and took notice. I'd like to hear your comments down below. Listen, if you enjoy this content, please consider subscribing to the channel. I would really appreciate it. If you take just a moment to hit the thumbs up button down below, I would like for you to do that for us as well. That would be terrific. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Give me a comment down below. Tell me what you think about Tucker Carlson's content or his comments. Do you think that's where we're headed? Do you think maybe something might happen to keep it from happening? God have mercy on us, right? Thank you for being here, everyone. Have a tremendous Friday. I appreciate you being here. I'll see you tomorrow. This is Trailer Trash Tim. Everybody, take care.